Ladles and jelly spoons, welcome back to Badgerworks. Today, this. Yes, we're moving on with our rapidly ever more complicated diorama build. We have our figures, we have our base, and now we are moving on to populating the diorama with stuff. So in this video we're going to be using some pre-bought bits and pieces like this. We're also going to be scratch building some things, and we're going to be making everything that's going to go on the diorama. So let's get on with it. Right, so the next thing I want to do is, again on this end wall, I want to make a door. And the door is going to be, I did measure this already and work it out, but I want the door to basically be 65 millimeters, I don't know if you can see that, 65 millimeters tall and 65 millimeters wide. It's going to be a double door. Sorry, no, that measurement's not right. It's 65 by 70. So it'll be 65 millimeters high and 70 millimeters wide. And the reason for that is because I want to have a 60 millimeter opening. Right, let's see what that looks like. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make this slightly off center. I don't want it in the center of this wall. I actually want it off to one side. And you might say, well, why would you want to do that? It's because I don't want the room to appear to be this wide. It's like a cutaway of the room. So if I put that in the middle there, it makes the room look very narrow. So by putting it off to one side a little bit, it makes the room look wider, if that makes sense. Now you could say, why don't you put it right up on the edge and use it to cover up that hole? Because I don't want it right on the edge, and also I've got another idea for what to do with that hole. So I think about there somewhere. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this, like the background of the door, black, because obviously I don't want a hole going through the wall because it looks silly. So I'm going to paint this matte black and then have the doors in front of it. The doors will only be open slightly. So okay, so I need to make a frame to go around it, and that needs to be 5 millimeters. So let's measure out some 5mm strips. What we want to do is build up a door frame out of these strips. Let's turn that up the other way so it's easy to see what we're doing. And I'll put one there, like that. I want to try and get these edges lined up as best I can, because it will save a lot of aggravation later. Okay, then we get our glue. And then we'll go down the side here. Right, and then we'll do another one on this end. And then we'll cut these off. Like that. And there's our door frame. Now obviously we'll dress this up a bit. It's not literally just going to be like this, but that's the basic outline of the doors. What I need to do as well is cut some doors to go inside it. But what I think I might do actually is I might actually double up these, make them a bit thicker. Yeah, I think I will actually. I'm going to double those up. Right, so I've just employed a new tool for my door, which is this. This is a hole punch. It's for punching holes in belts and things. But the smallest fitting on this, I just thought it might be quite useful for making rivets. So I punched one out and I stuck it on a bit of styrene, and I think that actually looks pretty good. So I'm going to use that to make some rivets to go around my door. So I'm just getting some little scraps, whatever scraps of styrene I've got, and basically the way it works is you just put it in the right place and like that, you see, and then just keep working your way down. But you see, this is again why you should never throw away these little scraps of styrene, because they're good for all sorts. Anyway, yeah, so just cut a load out, or punch a load out I should say. And also you can keep that bit, because look at that. That's a great little shape, I'll keep that. And then you just, it's easier probably if I unscrew this, but take this out, get a suitable pointy thing like a piece of wire and just push them through. Like so. And they'll all come clattering out the bottom. Like that, you see. The only trouble is with these, they tend to be quite staticky. So you see they're sticking to everything. But yeah, so I'll just punch out a load of these and then stick them on around the door. Right, and now we'll stick some of these on, which I think is going to be fun because they're as staticky as anything. But we shall endeavour. The trick is to get a bit of glue on and then quickly make any final adjustments before it that's two there. Like that, you see. Right, there we go. Doesn't look too bad, does it? Looks suitably ominous. Right, so I'll just give it a lick of black paint. I think that looks pretty good, don't you? Let's make some doors for it. Right, so that's our doors done, and what I want to do now is make some handles, and to do that I am going to measure out where I want the handles to be. So we'll go there to there, like that, and I'll do the same on the other door in a minute. And now we get our drill and we drill a hole. Oh, through the door like that, and we want another one here. Try not to drill too much of a hole in my cutting mat, like that. we get a piece of our wire the same as we had before, except now we've got to be a little bit more careful because we've actually got to measure it now. So what we'll do is we will get a little pair of pliers and we will bend the end of this like that, and then we get our ruler and we put that like that, we put that like that, and we bend it again, and that should give us the 10mm we're looking for. And then I'll just cut this off to, I think it only wants to be a couple of millimeters. Let's call it 3. Oh, I'll do this without. That's that. And then we've got to get this into here. Oh. Right, there we go. Now I'll put a little dab of super glue on that and that will hold it in place. Right, I'll do the other one the same. So I'm going to give this a coat of gloss black primer to on the door frames and on the door, so that we can put some silver on and then chip the paint later. And over the top of that we'll go with some all-clad airframe aluminium. Right, now I'm going to give both the door and the doors and the frame a coat of this deck tan to match the walls. I should mention actually that I've already given these a coat of gloss varnish and a good spritz of hairspray. Right, that'll do for that. Right, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the door frame as it is, but the doors themselves are going to get another coat of hairspray and then a coat of this XF7 flat red. Right, now while the doors are drying, we'll chip the paint on the door frame. So we'll put some water on it first. Now remember, when you're chipping the paint you need to be careful, because if you rub too hard you'll take the whole lot off, and that's not really what you want, because then you'll have to start again from scratch. So just keep working at it, slowly and carefully. And give the water time to work, to get in there and get it all nice and mushy. And what I'm doing is just very carefully going over the rivets and the edges of the door frame. You can see I'm barely taking any off. I don't want this to be absolutely hammered, I just want it to look a little bit like the paint's worn off. Again, we're just giving an impression of a bit of age and neglect, rather than, you know, absolute devastation. Right, I think that will do. Like I say, we don't want to go mad with this, it just wants a little bit. Alright, now we'll do the same with our doors. Now here we're trying to go through 2 layers of colour coat to get to the silver underneath, so we'll wet both the doors, and that will give the water a chance to do its thing and get through the paint. Now we want to try and concentrate on things like the door handles, the edges of the doors where the handles are, where people would naturally like put their hands and stuff like that. So that's the most important bit in this case. So you see I've taken a lot of paint off of the door handle, because that is an area that would naturally be worn, because that's where where the hands would all be going, if you see what I mean. This is actually coming off very, very easily, so I need to be very careful with this, because I don't want to end up taking too much off. Alright, this is coming off very nicely actually. See, there's quite a lot of this, I'm barely touching it and the paint's coming off, so Right, I think that'll actually do for that one. Let's do the other one. Right, and again I think that'll do for that one. Let's dry these off. Right, and now I'm going to use a bit of this panel line accent colour just to pick out some of the details. Mainly the rivets and whatnot. Right, we'll leave those to dry. Right, so now this wash has had a chance to dry, I'm going to clean it up a bit with some enamel thinner. I like using this Humbrol pot, not because it's particularly good thinner, it's just enamel thinner, but it's the pot's a handy size, so we'll just get some of this on our brush. And then what we do is just kind of create some streaks. Like so. So basically what we're doing is cleaning off any excess wash and just creating a few little grimy streaking effects. You don't have to go mad with it. Like I say, the most important thing is to get rid of any excess wash. Right, that'll do for that one. And we'll do the same on the door, or doors. You see the streaks there, look. So it's quite a subtle effect, but it does make a difference. Right, let's do this one. I mean, we're going to add some more streaking and stuff later anyway. This is just giving us a little bit of a head start on it. Alright, there we go. And we'll just leave those to dry. They won't take a few minutes. I'm just adding a bit more staining using this cadmium orange. So we just need the tiniest amount on the brush, and then we just streak it down. And the nice thing is it kind of blends in very well with the red, because I didn't want it looking like rust as such, but just like the door's just starting to go. But it just looks like, you know, there's been water and that running down the door, and it just makes it look a bit more grungy. So again, it's a very, very light effect, very subtle effect, but it does make quite a difference. It's a bit difficult to see. It's one of those things, it's quite tricky to see on the camera. I can see it, but I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see it, but it is there, trust me. Right, there we go. I'll do a little bit on here as well, on the door frame. You might be able to see it a little bit better. There you go. There we go. Right, so I think I might have mentioned before, but it's worth just reiterating at this stage of the build. I'm going to be using parts from the Italeri field tool shop, mainly the table, the bolt cutters and a few other bits and pieces. I've also got the this mini art field workshop, which I shall be using some bits from as well. And one thing you haven't seen before, because it only arrived today, I've also got this, also from Mini Art. This is the office furniture and accessories set. And so we'll be using some stuff out of here, because there's some nice desks and lamps and phones and bits and pieces like that. So I'm going to put some of these pieces together, and we'll start painting them up and see what they look like on the diorama. Right, this should be good for a laugh. I'm just trying to do some of the photo etch on some of these pieces. So I think I'll start with one of the bigger pieces just to try and make life a bit easier for myself. So this is for the jerry can. And one of the things that they've done here, which I actually quite like, is they've put a film on both sides, so to protect it. But what it also means is hopefully it should stop any of the smaller pieces from disappearing. It does mean now I've got to try and peel this off of here. Right, oh, let's get red tweezers. That's it. Right, so the way this works, as I understand it, is you put this piece. Alright, let's get some glue on it. So, a bit of super glue on each side. Probably not that much, might be a bit much, but never mind. Then we'll put this on. He says, as if there were nothing easier in the world, like that, and then a bit more super glue. Oh, let's hold that down, stop it moving about. Like that. And then this one goes on the top. Like that. There we go. Right. That worked. I quite like that actually, that's pretty good. So let's do the next one. Whew. Right, now let's do this saw, which is this one here. Okay, that's got that. I think I'll put a little touch of glue on the end here because I'm not sure where that's got it. There we go. God, that was... oh dear, this is fun. Right, let's put that down there very carefully. And this is going to be another good one. This is a saw. So we want that blade there. So let's cut this off. Stay. Right. And then last but not least, we're going to do this bucket, which gets this handle here, number 28. Now this is going to be delicate. Turn that round a bit. Oh. Ping. See if I can find that, shall I? Look at that, found it straight away. It was it was just glistening on the floor so I could see it. Right, that was lucky. Right, that's that. Now let's see if we can get a hold of this without it going twang again. And what we want to do is just oh, this is definitely the fiddliest one of the lot. Okay, now what I want to do, because I want to have the bucket laying on the floor, you see, and this is why it's going to be so fiddly. I want the handle down like that. There we go. That's it, that's got it. Right, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Right, onwards. Right, so I'm going to start off with the barrels with some flat white XF2. Now we're going to start doing some details with a bit of XF7 flat red. And for our gas canisters we're going to use XF4 yellow green. Now we're going to start on some of the furniture with this XF18 medium blue. And XF64 red brown for the big table. Now a bit of the old XF81 dark green too, we haven't seen that for a little while, and we'll use that for some of the packing cases and bits and pieces. So what I'm doing now is I'm just starting to add some weathering to the tables, and what I'm doing is I'm actually using this Kislev flesh, and what that does, I know it sounds weird, but it actually makes a good light wood tone in this situation. And basically what I'm doing is I'm just putting it on very gently with a sponge like this, and it just basically just adds some wear and tear to the table. So concentrating mainly on like the edges, around the legs where people have walked into it and things like that, on the ends here, because you can guarantee people will put their feet up on these things and scuff the paint off. So yeah, just and again the legs, because people invariably walk into table legs and, you know, trip over things and whatever else. So we'll just add this, and we'll do the other wooden bits as well, the other tables and chairs and all the rest of it, and make them look a bit more worn out. And what I'm doing on this table is because this one's going against the wall, I'm focusing more on one side of it, so where it's been against the wall and someone's been standing in front of it and working at it, it's worn the table more on one side than the other. So it's the same process, but just focusing more on this side of the table. like that, you see. So this is the same as the blue table, obviously, because people would be sitting at this side of it. That's where most of the wear would be. And the other thing to keep in mind is there's a stretcher under here which is just in the right place to put your feet on, so that will get a bit as well, especially in the middle there, because that's where people would most likely put their feet, and so where it would wear the paint off, you see. We've got our packing crates that need doing, so they'll get a fair amount around the lid that would obviously be on and off, and then a little bit on the sides, the corners, because they're obviously, these are getting moved around a lot, so they'll get, you know, battered and bashed around. So like that. I'll do the others. And again, with crates, they get stacked one on top of the other a lot, so where these cross pieces are, they would get a lot of abuse because they'll have had crates put on top of them. But it's amazing what an effect you can get with nothing more than a little bit of sponge and some paint. Now for these chairs, I'm focusing a lot on the bottoms of the legs, because obviously this is, you know, chairs get dragged around across the floor and whatnot, and also when you're sitting, this is the area where your feet are going to hit the most. We've all done it when you're sitting in a chair and you kick your feet against the legs. And again, the edges of the seat, especially the front, because that's where people's backsides are sliding on and off. There we are. And now I'm just using some of this Reichland Flesh Shade to just give some definition to some of the details on the crates and whatnot, on these wood textures. It's kind of funny using flesh tones to paint wood, but it's surprising how similar they are, and you can see here that this is really making all the details of this wood pop out and make it a lot more obvious. I mean, if you wanted to, you could put this shading on and then do the highlights afterwards, because obviously this will tone down the highlights as well, but it really depends on what kind of a look you want. But for me, this is absolutely fine. And there we go. Just let that dry now. So I've made a few decals for this diorama. This is one for a sign that's going to go above the door. So I'm just going to put this on now. So we'll just give it a bit of decal setter. This sign is basically just a piece of styrene card that I've cut to the appropriate size and painted. There we go. Alright, that doesn't look too bad, does it? Let's put that aside to dry. I printed these as well. This might be a bit of a giveaway as to where this is all going. While I'm putting these on, I just wanted to talk briefly about the rather contentious subject of gloss coats before decals. It's something I see come up in arguments so often online, and it's one of these things. I have always done it. I've always put a gloss coat down before I put decals on, especially with these self-printed ones, because they tend to be very thin and very delicate, and they need quite a lot of finagling into place, like this one's going to, because I'll put it in completely wrong place. And I also find it's useful to seal the previous coat anyway. You know, it's just like, it's almost like a punctuation mark in the build, if you like. You know, I've done this, now I shall seal it, then I shall do the next step, and then I shall seal that, and so on and so forth. Now, one of the things that I see come up quite frequently is this whole thing about, you know, do you need to apply a gloss coat before you put your decals on? And some people say you do, some people say you don't. For me personally, I find that since I started doing it, I have never had an issue with decals, with silvering or anything like that, and so I will continue to do it. I see people online basically, and they will argue until the cows come home, and they get quite snotty about it, saying that you don't need to do it and that people that do it are wasting their time and blah 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 blah. And it's one of these things that it's really very simple, okay? If you want to do it, do it. If you don't want to do it, don't. It really is that simple. Right, well, I got all the little fiddly bits and I put them all in a box so I wouldn't lose them, and now it's time to start painting them, and I have to say I can almost hear the carpet monster licking its lips. But anyway, let's see what we can do. Should be fun. Right, now I'm going to do something a bit special here. This is a brand new unopened bottle of Citadel burnished gold, and I am now going to open it. This bottle is probably older than quite a few of the people watching this video. There we go. So I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. I've put down a piece of, this is a kind of impermeable paper, because what I'm hoping to do is just paint the bits and then put them on the paper, because I can't really hang them up. So I've just got a few different colours here. I've got red, brown, chainmail, doomball brown, the burnished gold that we just opened, ruby red, and olive drab. I might use some other colours, but those are the ones that I'm mainly looking at. So yes, onwards. Right, now this is arguably the most important piece, because these are the bolt cutters, and tiny as they are kind of central to the theme of the diorama. So I really don't want to drop this bit, which probably means this will be the piece I'll drop. Nearly forgot one of the most important bits, the telephone. After I spent all that time putting wires and things in it, and then I nearly forgot to paint it. Just as an aside, I just got this photo etch set from, I'm never sure if it's ABBA or ABBA, probably ABBA, but it's a Polish photo etch company. I bought some of their sets before and they're really good. But this is the cutlery and kitchen accessories. This I actually bought for another diorama that I'm going to be doing in the future. But I think I'm going to use a few bits out of this on this diorama as well. So we'll crack some of these out and put them together and see what they look like. Right, so apparently you're supposed to press these out and make them three-dimensional according to the instructions here, which is actually a genius idea to make them three-dimensional. So I've had a little idea of how I can accomplish this. So I'm just going to measure with my vernier caliper this internal radius here, or diameter I should say, and that is, it's about 6.5 millimeters, and then the inner diameter is about 5 millimeters. So I've got an idea for this. Just wait there for a second, I'll be right back. Right, so I've popped one of these plates off of the sheet, and what I've got here is a 6mm washer. So what I'm going to do, and this is going to be fun, but we'll see what we can do, I'm going to put that on there like that. Try and get it lined up as best I can. And now this is a 5mm drill bit. So if I put that on there like that and push that down, just try not to press it too hard. I don't know how much force this thing will actually take. Alright, let's see what that looks like. Oh, that's not too bad at all, look at that. I think it needs to be straightened up a little bit. It's a bit, let's put a little bit on that side. Well, I think that's worked out rather well. Right, so these are the bottles that come with the office set, and this is a 1.8mm ultraviolet LED. And what I want to do is I want to see how well this LED will illuminate these bottles. Right, let's see what this does. Trouble is, it's a bit difficult to see with the light, but I'll try it in the dark and see what it looks like. Yeah, it's not too bad. I think I'll give it a try, see what it does. So now we need to drill a hole in the table, and we're going to put the bottle at the back in the corner here. So double and triple check this because I do not want to drill a hole in the wrong place. I think we've had enough drilling holes in the wrong place on this project. So at the back here, and we'll go right through there, like that, like that. And then what we'll do is open the hole out to the size we want, but we'll come in through the top. Like that. And you see that very neatly cleans up the end of that hole. So, oh. Right, now we need to attach our light. Right, let's get a bit of super glue on that. Now, you might be saying to yourself, what on earth are you going to do with those wires? I will show you. We're going to cut a couple of strands off of this, like that. And we're going to run these wires down the back of this leg. Right, what we'll do is we'll just wrap that round there. Like that. Cross it over. And twist. And we keep twisting and it will pull tight. There you go. And that has that nice and snug. I don't even think we need the second one. I might put it on just to be on the safe side. Belt and braces and all that. There we go, like that. Now we can trim those off. Like that. And then what we'll do is we'll take the same blue paint we used for the table, and we'll paint the LED and the wires, and that will further help hide them. Quick sanity check that the bulb is still working, which it is. Right, I've just quickly set that bottle up on the table so you can see what it looks like. It actually is one of these things that the camera's not picking up the UV all that well, but it's basically glowing bright blue, which is precisely what I was looking for. So, good. Right, I think that will do us for this video because this one's getting very long as well. So for now, here are our finished articles. We have our various office furniture and equipment, filing cabinets, tables, chairs, bits and pieces like that. We've got our chains and tools and medical equipment, our barrels and canisters of various nefarious substances. So we have our figures, we have our base, and now we have all of our accoutrements, as it were. So in the next video we're going to start putting all this together. So we'll put all this stuff on the diorama, we'll do all the wiring and electronics and figure all that out, and hopefully end up with our finished piece. So yeah, I appreciate your forbearance on this one. I know this has been a very long series, but hopefully you guys are enjoying it, and if so, I'll see you on the next one. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers. Bye.